Alright, today we're going to talk about the similarities between Dead Space and the Halo Saga. Alright, so this is while we played the first Isaac level from Dead Space 3. This is actually a second level in Dead Space 3. The first level you play as that soldier, which if you read the storyline, he's probably working with the church to turn off the machine because the thing he recovered from the ship that he had in his hand before he died looked an awful lot like that the device that the church leader stole from Isaac, and they inserted into the machine to turn it off in the end of Dead Space 3. So you get the feeling that the beginning takes place 200 years ago, and essentially the machine's been turned on, and then the soldier's probably working with the church to recover the device to turn the machine off before he's confronted by one of his military superiors, who essentially says, you know, son, you love the earth, don't you? You love the earth and humanity? Well, convince him not to carry out his mission, then he kills him, then the military leader kills himself right before he erases what was on the device. So essentially to prevent the machine from turning off, to prevent everything from freezing and convergence from resuming. Alright, so anyways, that's a little backstory for the game. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about the similarities between the Dead Space trilogy and the Halo Saga. But first let me say, I love Dead Space. I love this trilogy. I wasn't really into the second game. I didn't really like the second game that much. But the first game was cool. I like the third game the best. You know, it's got the big open worlds and new locations. It's not just kind of like close quarters, you know, in a ship or installation somewhere. It's got lots of locations, open world, you know, and like pretty cool, you know. Lots of different stuff. You actually fight the cult in the third one. You get to know a little bit more about a lot more about the cult, actually. The Unitology cult. So I love the first one, but I just like the third one better. It's just I don't know, I just like it better. It's more along the lines of what kind of shooter game I like. But that's just my personal opinion. I mean, you can like whatever you want to like. But anyway, so today we're going to be talking about the differences between and the similarities between the Dead Space Saga and the Halo Saga. Alright, well, let's look at this. Master Chief and Isaac in the first games, Halo Combat Evolved and Dead Space, the first one, essentially they end up in unknown space or known space, depending on which game you're playing. They end up in a part of space where, you know, they really don't know what's going on. It's beyond their control, and essentially they're just thrown into this battle with essentially the undead and this cult, the Unitologists, and essentially, so yeah, so then they have to figure out, you know, what's going on and how to stop it, and, you know, and everything. And then yeah, another aspect that they're like is the cult. You know, the Covenant in Halo is a cult. The Covenant in Halo is a religious cult made up of aliens, and they believe that through activating the rings, the installations, will achieve salvation. So essentially they're like pretty much a cult. But and in Dead Space, the Unitologists believe they're an organization or religion like the Covenant that believe that if by activating or whatever the markers, they'll essentially achieve salvation. That the markers will bring them salvation, rebirth. They'll become whole. You know, they'll essentially become a moon and become whole. You know, there'll be no pain or suffering, and everyone will be equal, and, you know, like make us whole. You know, and same thing with the Covenant. They believe that if the rings are activated, then the rings of holy fire from the rings, as Prophet Mercy said, you know, like the Halo's holy fire will spread throughout the galaxy, repelling all who are worthy along the path to salvation. So, you know, like that, and so basically both the Unitologist cult from Dead Space and the Covenant cult from Halo essentially believe that by activating these ancient foreigner devices, they'll achieve salvation in another life, essentially achieve rebirth in another life. And so that's essentially another similarity. And then but Dead Space 2 and Halo 2 really didn't have that many similarities. I mean, Dead Space 2 is more along the lines of Dead Space 1, except instead of being inside a ship, you're inside installation, a military installation, government installation. And Dead Space 3 was kind of like, you know, was not really supposed to be the ender because they released a DLC. If they hadn't released a DLC, Dead Space 3 would have been a really good ending to maybe not perfect ending, but a really good ending to the Dead Space trilogy. But they released the DLC afterwards, and so essentially in that kept the story going. But in the words of one of the creators, when he went on an interview, I don't remember with who, but he went on an interview on TV. He essentially said, well, we didn't sell that many copies. We only sold like 600,000 or 700,000 copies. We didn't make that much money off of Dead Space 3. So we don't think that warrants investing in a new game. So sorry to the community that got all built up after the Dead Space 3 DLC. Sorry to the community that wants us to make another game because they want to keep playing. They want the story to evolve and continue. So sorry to you guys. This may be a fuck you, but we only care about money. That's all we were in it for, anyways. We were just for the money. We didn't make that much money off of Dead Space 3 or the DLC. So forget a new game. We're not gonna do that. So because we only want the money. So it's kind of like that. Kind of like a fuck you to the fan base. So the fan base is probably like, fuck you guys. So that wasn't very good to your fan base. I mean, imagine if Halo had quit after Halo 3. Think of all the games they would have left on the table and all the storylines and characters and events they would have just left undiscovered and undone. So essentially, think what they could have done with Dead Space 4. There's channels out there that talk about what could have happened in Dead Space 4, like what was in store for Dead Space 4 and stuff, and what could have happened, what would have happened, what might have happened, what should happen. And so essentially, yeah, I'm not really going to go over that because I don't want to spoil anything, but you can just look up like Dead Space 4 and there's research and watch the channel and see what they say, could, should, would, maybe, or need to happen. So a lot of cool stuff out there. So a lot of interesting stuff that was supposed to happen in Dead Space 4. I mean, at the end of DLC, Isaac and the other guy make it back to Earth, and just as the moon had arrived at Earth, and essentially the infestation, the necromorphs had basically were taking over Earth, and so basically Dead Space 4 would have been cool, to see Isaac save Earth, almost like Mass Effect 3. In Mass Effect 3, the Reapers come to Earth. The Reapers are those machines that wipe the galaxy clean every 50 to 100,000 years, and the Reapers came to Earth, and Commander Shepard had to essentially, not single-handedly, but almost, like with a team, essentially Commander Shepard and his team had to save the Earth, take back the Earth from, the Reapers. So essentially it's like, like in Mass Effect 3, like that. Dead Space 4 could have been like, like take back Earth from the Necromorphs and the Brother Moons, the Brethren Moons. And it would have been really cool game stuff, so I think there will be a lot of cool stuff in store for Dead Space 4. I mean, all the Dead Space creators had to do was just learn from what people didn't like about Dead Space 3 and then fix that. Give us a little bit of what they had in Dead Space 3, but also give us what they had in Dead Space 1 and 2 that made Dead Space great in the first place, So I felt like Dead Space 3 had a lot of open world, you had a lot of open environments, a lot of stuff like that, but it wasn't like when you go on the space station, that kind of reminisces Dead Space 1 and 2, but there's not, after you get off the space station, when you get on the planet, and most of the games played on the planet, you don't really get that many, like closed off environments, like close quarters. Essentially don't get like close quarters and stuff like that like you do in Dead Space 1 and 2. So they could have had more of those in there, and the game probably would have done really good. So that's just what I think. And and essentially like another similarity between Dead Space Trilogy and the Halo Saga is the main character, essentially Isaac from Dead Space, and Master Chief John from Halo. Essentially, they're fighting against time to stop a cult, and the cult wants to collect and activate the markers. Essentially, in Halo, the Covenant cult wants to activate the ring. So essentially, Isaac and Master Chief are working against time to essentially stop essentially what the cult believes is salvation and ascension, salvation by ascension. So there's that, and also the Necromorphs and Flood. I mean, it's like, I think Dead Space, the first game, came out after Halo. I think it came out after Halo Combat Evolved. So I mean, the Necromorphs kind of look like a shitty or cheap takeoff of the Flood. It's kind of like they couldn't take the Flood characters because those are already copyrighted by Halo. So it's almost like, for Dead Space, kind of like didn't really have any good ideas for the Necromorphs, so they just kind of stole some ideas off of the Thing in the movie, It's kind of like, a cheap takeoff of the Flood, kind of like essentially what Halo's first draft of the Flood might have been, That's what they went with for Dead Space 3, it seems like. But anyways, So yeah, but I love Dead Space. I love Halo. I love Halo more. I don't know. I'm just like a Halo person. I just love Halo. And but Dead Space is great too. You know. So and so yeah. So that's pretty much it. So yeah. So there are similarities between Halo and Dead Space that you can think of that I didn't mention. And which Dead Space game or Halo game is your favorite? And do you want to see a Dead Space 4? I really want to see Dead Space 4. I want to see that. That'd be pretty cool. So, but I don't know if they'll ever make it. You know, what they should have done is release the Dead Space trilogy, like they did with the Master Chief collection, the Gears of War collection. You know, release Dead Space trilogy on Xbox One. You know, so we can play on Xbox One. You know, because not everybody has their Xbox 360s, or you know, maybe they don't work, or they trade them in to get an Xbox One or whatever. So, but anyways, yeah, so that would have been nice if they released the Dead Space trilogy, the games they had done on Xbox One, so we can all enjoy playing them. You know, so, but it just seems like the Dead Space creators are just after money, especially after the all, you know, like where they said one of the creators on the talk show said that they didn't make that much money and sell that many copies off of Dead Space 3, so it didn't warrant investing in another game. You know, so they, you know, essentially they thought it might bomb. So essentially, just like you know, like that. I mean, like Star Wars, fucking, you know, The Last Jedi. Last Jedi wasn't that good. Solo, they said bombed, but Star Wars, you know, they should have hired J.J. Abrams to try and bring back Star Wars, you know, and like essentially bring it back to where it was before. Essentially, you know, people kind of, you know, did what they did. But that being said, it's like, you know, Dead Space 4. All Dead Space gotta do is just the creators just learn from Dead Space 3. Learn what people liked about Dead Space 1 and 2. Learn what they didn't like about Dead Space 3. And essentially take all that knowledge and use it to mold a new Dead Space game. So that's all you gotta do. You just learn from failures and successes, and then just make an awesome game. I mean, Dead Space 4 could have been like you know, like a epic ending to the Dead Space Saga. You know, could have been an epic ending. I mean, you know, they didn't have. I'm not saying they had to make a 5 or 6 one, but you know, at least don't leave us on a cliffhanger with the DLC. At least give us, you know, another Dead Space game, you know. So essentially, you know, finish the Saga. It's like, anyway, so that's basically that. So yeah, so you know, would you like to see a Dead Space 4? Would you play it? You know, so would you want to play it? So, and I would. But so anyways, yeah, so any similarities between Halo and Dead Space you can think of, or Halo and other games, or Dead Space and other games you can think of. And so that's basically that. So hope you enjoyed watching this, and hope you enjoyed listening to me. So I appreciate all of you who watch these videos, either the Let's Talk videos or the comedy clips or the gaming clips. I appreciate everybody who watches and likes them, and all the people who have subscribed. You know, I thank everybody, because you know, it's like pretty cool. You know, so pretty nice that you know, people enjoy what I do. So that's basically that. So anyways, thanks for watching. Till next time, see ya. Bye.